I thought my wife's best friend was just family until I found their love letters in our basement. Jake's hands were caked with dust, the kind that clings to your skin like a second layer, as he pried open another cardboard box in the basement of their Chicago row house. The air was thick with the smell of damp concrete and old paper, the kind of scent that made you feel like you were disturbing something long forgotten. They'd been renovating for weeks, tearing out walls to make room for a home gym Sarah had been dreaming about since they moved in 5 years ago. Jake, a firefighter with Engine Company 47, was used to heavy lifting, but this was different. Sifting through decades of someone else's memories, stuff the previous owners had left behind, felt like trespassing. He found all sorts of junk already. Warped vinyl records, a broken lava lamp, a stack of yellowed National Geographics. But this box, tucked behind a rusted water heater, was heavier than the others, its corners reinforced with duct tape that had started to peel. He sliced it open with his utility knife, expecting more relics of the 80s. Instead, he pulled out a bundle of envelopes, tied with a faded red ribbon. The handwriting on the top one caught his eye. Sarah's, that looping, deliberate script she used for thank you notes and grocery lists. But these weren't addressed to him, they were to Mia. Mia, Sarah's best friend since grade school. Mia, who'd been at their wedding, who'd helped them move into this house, who'd been over for dinner so many times Jake had lost count. Mia, who Sarah called her sister from another mister, who'd always been part of their life like a fixture. Jake's stomach twisted as he untied the ribbon, a vague unease settling in. He shouldn't be reading these. They were private. But the way Sarah's pen had pressed into the paper, the slight smudge of ink on the edges, made him pause. He opened the first letter. My dearest Mia, I can't stop thinking about the way you looked at me last night. Like I was the only person in the world. I know we said we'd stop, but I don't want to. I can't. Jake's breath caught. He read it again, then flipped to the next letter and the next. Some were from Sarah, others from Mia, spanning years. Before he and Sarah were married, during their engagement, after. Words spilled out. Love, longing, secret meetings in coffee shops and hotel rooms, promises to run away together, apologies for hurting each other. Jake's hands shook as he read Mia's words. Sarah, you're my everything, but Jake deserves better. We can't keep doing this to him. And Sarah's reply, he doesn't need to know. He's happy. We're happy. Isn't that enough? The basement felt colder now, the single bulb overhead casting harsh shadows. Jake sat on the concrete floor, letters spread around him like evidence at a crime scene. His wife, his Sarah, who he'd met at a Cubs game 7 years ago, who'd laughed at his terrible pickup line about her being a home run, who'd cried with him when his dad passed last year, had been living a double life with Mia, her best friend. The woman who'd been in their home, their life, their marriage, like she belonged there. Jake didn't know how long he sat there, rereading the letters, trying to make sense of them. The words blurred together, but one thing was clear. This wasn't a fling. This was years. Years of lies. He thought of all the times Sarah and Mia had gone on girls' trips, the late-night phone calls Sarah would take in the other room, the way Mia would sometimes look at Sarah with an intensity Jake had chalked up to their lifelong friendship. He felt like an idiot, a blind, trusting idiot. He didn't confront Sarah right away. He couldn't. His shift at the firehouse started in an hour, and he needed to move, to do something, anything, to keep from exploding. He shoved the letters back into the box, hid it behind the water heater, and went upstairs to change. Sarah was in the kitchen, humming as she chopped vegetables for dinner, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked up when he walked in, her smile as warm as ever. Hey, babe, she said, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Find anything good down there? Jake's throat tightened. He wanted to scream, to throw the letters in her face, to demand answers. Instead, he muttered, just more junk, and grabbed his keys. He didn't trust himself to say more. The firehouse was a blur. He went through the motions, checking equipment, joking with the guys, running drills, but his mind was elsewhere. Every quiet moment brought the letters back, their words burning into him. By the time his shift ended at dawn, he'd made up his mind. He had to talk to Sarah. But first, He needed to hear it from Mia. Mia lived in a small apartment in Wicker Park, a 15-minute drive from their house in Logan Square. Jake had been there plenty of times. Barbecues, game nights, the occasional coffee run when Sarah dragged him along. Mia answered the door in sweatpants and a faded Deepal hoodie, her short blonde hair mussed like she'd just woken up. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Jake? Everything okay?" she asked, stepping aside to let him in. He didn't sit down. He stood in the middle of her living room, hands shoved in his pockets to keep them from shaking. "I found the letters," he said, his voice low, steady, though it felt like his chest was caving in. "The ones you and Sarah wrote." Mia's face went pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she was searching for the right lie. But then her shoulders slumped and she sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "Oh, God," she whispered. "I never wanted you to find out like this." "Like this?" Jake's voice rose. "How about not at all, Mia? How about not screwing my wife for years behind my back?" "It wasn't like that," she said, looking up, her eyes red. "I mean, it was, but Jake, I didn't want to hurt you. I love you. You're like family to me. It's just Sarah. She's always had this hold on me." Mia's story came out in fragments, like she was piecing together a puzzle she'd tried to forget. She and Sarah had been friends since they were 9, inseparable through high school, college, everything. It started as a drunken kiss at a party when they were 19, and spiraled into something more. They tried to stop, especially when Sarah started dating Jake, but Sarah always pulled her back in. She'd say things like, "You're the only one who gets me," or "Jake's great, but he's not you," Mia said, her voice breaking. "I believed her. I thought she loved me. But she was using me, Jake. She used me to feel something she wasn't getting anywhere else." Jake didn't want to hear it. He didn't want Mia's excuses, her tears. But something in her voice, raw, broken, made him listen. She told him how Sarah would promise to leave him, to start a life with her, only to back out every time. How Sarah would manipulate her, make her feel guilty for wanting to end it. "I'm not saying I'm innocent," Mia said. "I should have walked away. But she made me feel like I was nothing without her." Jake drove home in a daze. Sarah was at work. She was a nurse at Rush, working the day shift, and the house was empty. He went back to the basement, pulled out the box, and read the letters again. This time, he noticed things he hadn't before. Sarah's words were always more intense, more possessive, while Mia's were hesitant, conflicted. He found other things in the box, too. A photo of Sarah and Mia at a beach, their arms around each other, smiling like they were the only two people in the world. A cheap necklace with a heart pendant, the kind you'd buy at a mall kiosk. A receipt from a hotel in Milwaukee, dated 2 years ago, when Sarah had told him she was visiting her mom. He waited until Sarah got home. She walked in at 7 p.m., still in her scrubs, looking tired but happy. "Hey you," she said, kicking off her shoes. "Rough shift?" Jake was sitting at the kitchen table, the box in front of him. Sarah's smile faltered when she saw it. "What's that?" she asked, her voice too casual. "You tell me," he said, pushing the box toward her. She froze, her eyes flicking from the box to his face. For a moment, he thought she'd deny it, play dumb. But then she sighed and sat down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "How much did you read?" she asked. "All of it." Sarah didn't cry, didn't beg. She just looked at him, her face a mix of resignation and defiance. "I love her, Jake. I always have. But I love you too. I didn't want to lose either of you." He laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the quiet kitchen. "You love me? You've been lying to me for years. You and Mia sneaking around, writing your little love notes. How is that love?" "It's not like that," she said, her voice sharp. She's different. She's my past, my present, my everything. But you're my future. I chose you. I married you." "You chose me?" Jake slammed his hand on the table, making her flinch. "You don't get to call that a choice, Sarah. You don't get to lie to me, sleep with someone else, and call it love." She didn't back down. "I never wanted to hurt you. I tried to end it with her, over and over. but she kept coming back, begging me not to leave her. She's obsessed with me, Jake. She's the one who wouldn't let go. He stared at her, his mind racing. Mia had said the opposite, that Sarah was the one who wouldn't let go, who manipulated her, who made promises she never kept. One of them was lying. Or both. He didn't know who to believe anymore. Over the next few weeks, Jake dug deeper. He couldn't stop himself. He checked Sarah's phone when she was in the shower, found texts from Mia, but also from someone named Rachel, a coworker Sarah had mentioned in passing. The texts weren't explicit, but they were intimate, familiar, in a way that made Jake's skin crawl. He started asking around, subtly, talking to mutual friends, coworkers, even Sarah's sister, Emily. Little by little, a pattern emerged. Sarah had a way of drawing people in, making them feel special, needed, only to pull back when things got too real. Emily told him about a friend from college who'd been obsessed with Sarah, who'd cut contact after Sarah got engaged. A nurse at Rush mentioned Sarah's close friendship with Rachel, how they'd been inseparable until Rachel transferred to another hospital. Jake confronted Sarah again, this time with everything he'd learned. She didn't deny it, not exactly. "I'm not perfect," she said, tears in her eyes. "I get too attached to people. I need them too much. But I always come back to you, Jake. Doesn't that mean something?" He didn't know what it meant anymore. He moved out, crashing at a buddy's place in Pilsen, needing space to think. The guys at the firehouse noticed he was off, but he brushed them off, saying it was just stress. He couldn't bring himself to tell them his wife had been cheating on him with her best friend, that his whole marriage felt like a lie. Mia reached out a week later, asking to meet. They sat in a diner on Division Street, the kind of place with greasy coffee and vinyl booths. She looked worse than he'd ever seen her. Pale, hollow-eyed, like she hadn't slept in days. "I ended it," she said, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "For good this time. I told her I can't do it anymore, not after this." Jake didn't know if he believed her. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. "You lied to me as much as she did." "I know," she said, "and I'm sorry, but I'm done letting her control me. You should know, though, she's not going to change. She'll find someone else to pull into her orbit. She always does." He didn't respond. He just paid for his coffee and left, the weight of her words settling in his chest. Back at his buddy's place, he sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do. Part of him wanted to burn it all down, divorce Sarah, expose her to everyone they knew, make her feel the pain he was feeling. But another part, the part that still loved her, wondered if she could change, if they could rebuild, if forgiveness was possible. He thought about the letters, now locked in his truck, and the life they'd built together. The vacations, the late-night talks, the way Sarah would curl into him on the couch during a snowstorm. He thought about Mia, caught in Sarah's web just like he was. He thought about the man he wanted to be, not someone who ran from pain, but someone who faced it. Jake didn't have answers yet, but he knew he couldn't go back to the way things were. He'd have to choose, revenge or forgiveness, holding on or letting go. And whatever he chose, it would change him forever.